good. And then sit, get comfortable, and sing the beginning to yourself. And then only when you're ready you can start. We'll stop for now. Good, good, good. Okay, and then when you get to the very end of your piece, you'll get your applause. You stand up and you take one more bow, and then the audience claps for you, and then you go back to your seat and you're all done. Okay? Just by seeing other kids, just some other tips. Don't look at the audience after you've bowed. And don't look at the audience again until you bow again. So always try to keep your eyes on the keyboard in front of you. Okay? The way this place is arranged, there are seats, and I don't know if it's going to be occupied yet. We have to see how crowded it's going to be. There are seats here, which is kind of weird.
Like behind
you. Yeah, behind where you're sitting. Most of the seats are here, which is like normal. But
yeah.
it kind of goes in this shape, like a U. So there's seats here. There's seats here. And
So
I'm going to try to tell people not to sit there unless we absolutely need to, because what kind of view are you going to get of the piano concert sitting over there? You can't see the hands at all. You just see you can just see people's faces. So I'm going to try to avoid people sitting there if we can. I don't know how crowded it will be.
Will you be in the audience or on like?
Oh, I won't. Yeah, I'll be like in the audience-ish. Yeah. Bottom line, like it's really easy to get distracted if you start seeing people's faces there, or if like a kid like drops the program on the floor, or like kicks the what happens. It's just chaos. So it's really important to keep your concentration, and that's why when I'm playing, especially in a new place, I always try to keep as focused into the keys as possible, and try not to look around at all. I try to just only look at where I am in that exact moment. Okay? All right. You ready to do this whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. In apparently at Juilliard back in maybe it was the 80s and the 90s, they used to have a course called Distractions in Music Performance. And so they would make you perform on the stage, and then they would do these awful things to try to distract you.
On purpose?
Yeah, on purpose. Yeah. Isn't that insane?
It's like a test of your...
Like they throw things at you maybe, or they slam doors, or they change the lights. I don't know what they do, but I think it's insane. Anyway, okay. So we'll do the whole thing now. Playing, bowing, everything. Okay? Good luck. Good. Just try not to look at where you have to stand that way. Okay. All right. Was that the first? That wasn't the first time you've done that, right?
That's the first time I've done that here.
I know that for sure, but you've done it at home
Yeah.
several times by now?
Not with the bowing, but like,
Not with the bowing.
yeah.
Does it add anything to it to have to bow before and after, or?
Yeah, because like you start standing up and then you like, because when I'm at the piano, I just kind of like, you're already sitting down and you're like comfortable in your position, but like when you
Mhm.
first walk onto the piano or like onto the
Yeah.
stage, I guess
Yeah.
you have to like adjust
And it's really important that you take the time to adjust. A lot of kids, they just take it as it is. So like, what I mean by that is they don't move the bench forward, backwards. They don't move it up or down. They, wherever it is where they play. What if the kid kicks the bench like after he finishes by mistake, and then the next kid comes up, the bench is all crooked, but he doesn't touch it anyway. You know, you have to be, and it seems so awkward because it adds more time, but like there's nothing wrong with, you know, standing up and adjusting it real quick to seeing, you know, if it's too high or too low, and then repositioning it. Sometimes I would sit, I'd be like, oh, this is not good. So then I would lower it, and then I would sit down, and then I still didn't like where it was, so then I stood up again, and I fixed it again, and then I sat down, and okay, fine, that's good now. I even remember I had a colleague that really liked to sit on the floor. Like wherever the lowest point the bench could go, he would go absolutely to the absolute lowest. And it drove me crazy. And drove everybody else crazy because, you know, he played and he lowered the bench all the way to the floor. And then the next, whoever was after him, oh, forget it. Because you had to spend like a minute just trying to get the bench back up to like a normal person height. And then finally sit down and perform. And that's while everybody's staring at you, like, and you're like, you know.
Yeah, there's shaking.
So, anyway, point being, take all the time in the world to get comfortable before you start. How did this performance go compared to at home?
I think I did better at home.
Yes, of course.
And I like when I was playing now, if I messed up, I kind of like stopped. I don't know if I should have stopped.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. You definitely should not stop at all. So there's two different mindsets when you're playing piano. There's a practice mindset and there's a performance mindset. When you're practicing, your goal is to make the music better and improve it, right? And we have to do that. We have to stop a lot when we're practicing in order to go back and reinforce things or fix things or make them better and everything. When you're performing, under no circumstances should you go back and try to fix something. That's just not something you're supposed to do. If you make a mistake on something, you have to hide it.
I also
So, like,
forgot all about dynamics.
Yes, we'll talk about it separate. But let's say I'm going like. That's what you have to do. Ideally, I would do even better. I go. Sorry, I played the right note. How many people are even going to notice that I played the wrong note there?
Probably not.
40%? 25%? You know, who's really listening that carefully? Probably your family. You,
But
maybe.
my family doesn't play the piano.
Well, they've heard this before, I think, right?
Yeah.
So then maybe they might recognize it, but like, who's really going to recognize it besides me and my wife? Probably just you, you know? But what about this? What if I did this mistake? Who's going to notice that?
Everyone.
No, probably like 65% of people are going to notice there's a mistake, maybe 75%, right? There's going to be a lot of like little kids that are just like, you know, they're not looking at anything. Okay, what about this?
before.
That sounds like restarting, right?
Mhm.
Or even worse, you go. Who's going to notice that? 99%, right? They will all notice it. So bottom line is, if you make a mistake, it's like there's no brakes on the car. Your only choice is to keep going faster. Not going faster. But keep going without stopping, restarting, fixing. We cannot fix any of our mistakes in this. Let me give you one more alternate idea here. Are you ready? What do you think of that?
It sounds discontinued. So
Sure.
that people might notice it.
Now, that's not ideal, obviously, and you know what I did, right? I messed that up and I
Which is
skipped
what
ahead
also-
to the next section.
I did that. I know I did that.
I don't remember you doing that.
At the same spot too, because I forgot if it was like, or
Oh, I thought you just took the repeat.
I did, but I didn't play like the.
I know you made a mistake then. Anyway, I would say that this is not the ideal. Like, number one preferred is ignoring it. You just keep going. That's the best case scenario. You just keep going. Second best case scenario, maybe you have to pause for a second. Third best case scenario, you skip. Almost worst case scenario, you go back and fix it. Ultimately, usually if you go back, you're not fixing it. You're just going to play it wrong again and you're going to panic more. That's what's really going to happen. And worst case scenario, you go back to the beginning and you play the whole thing again, which I heard recently done by. And I remember I watched this very famous concert artist. And she was just you could just tell she was just not having a good day. And she had admitted that she was scheduled for this concert and she was getting ready for it. And then she got called to substitute for somebody else in like a completely different city. I think it was in Chicago or something. And she had to like bring back that concerto really quickly and learn it really quick. And then she had to fly directly over here and didn't sleep well in between. And you could tell she was just not like with it totally. And she had such a hard time, and I'm pretty positive she skipped like half the piece. Just from memory slips. Like she would just make a mistake and rather than fix it, she would just skip ahead to the next part. And she'd skip ahead and then I'm pretty sure at one point she just kind of like and then stood up and bowed. I'm like, what was that? But it happens. But that's the order of how you got to handle the situation. These things you don't really think about when you're practicing. This is all like performance practice stuff. And to do what I was saying, where you don't fix it, you just keep going, that takes experience. That's not something that it's amazing if you can do that. It's amazing if you give a perfect performance. That's the most ideal, right? But it's really good if you make a mistake, if you can just ignore it and keep going anyway. But it takes experience to be able to handle a situation that well. And because at that point you're kind of impromptuing a little bit,
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, did any of your other students that will be at that recital, have they played this piece before?
No.
Okay.
Does that make you feel better or worse?
Better.
I had a student that I helped with this piece before, but it was when I used to teach at a different music school. And so no, nobody's in the studio has played this one, which is kind of rare actually. So, okay.
Because I've had that happen happen where someone else plays a piece that I played before, and I know exactly when they mess up.
Yes.
So I just follow that tip.
Yeah, and who cares ultimately? You know, it's everybody messes. I don't think anybody in the last recital gave a perfect performance, myself included. So it's
Okay.
like, what are you gonna? Who cares? We're not. We're not gonna have the Philadelphia Inquirer report on this recital, and we're not. You know, we're not playing on the main stage at Verizon Hall. So it's okay if we make a few mistakes here and there. Do you have any questions about that element of how to handle a situation in which you make a mistake? Yeah, okay. I mentioned it all to you because I want you to think about that when you're practicing performing.
I think if I just play it over and over enough times, then I should be able to just ignore any mistakes I make.
Well,
Because
no, unfortunately not, because then what happens when you've got 100 people staring at you? You can't. It's hard to replicate that feeling that you get. And unfortunately, everybody is different. Like, some kids are fearless. Some kids, they just, like, you could put them in the highest pressure situation. They do not care. They're fine anyway. Some kids are a train wreck, and they're absolutely nervous. Like, I've had kids, they start the whole piece in the wrong octave. Like, they go like, or worse, they go like, you know, I've had that happen, and I have to go up on the stage and be like,
restart.
it's okay,
Oh.
take a deep breath. And then there's the reality is, sometimes you're one and sometimes you're the other, and sometimes you're somewhere in between. You know, sometimes I sit down and I'm perfectly calm and I'm not nervous at all, and I'm not, you know, sometimes I'm very nervous. And it's not like I'm really nervous because I'm playing on this big stage for this big competition. Sometimes I'm nervous playing in the living room for a few people.
It's because there's other people.
Yeah, but like, you know, I could play at Carnegie Hall and it'd be okay, and then I play for 3 people one day and I'm feeling really nervous that day. Could be the piece you're playing, could be your mentality that day, it could be how your practice session went that morning, it could be a whole host of things. It could be you got distracted by this one thing, so you're kind of worried that that's going to happen while you're playing, you know, so it could be anything, and kids your age are particularly sensitive to it. So bottom line, you know, that's why I bring this all up to you. So that way you can kind of start to practice performing. If you've got some friends or family you can play for, or even at your school or something like that, it's a good idea to try to get used to this feeling and practice, you know, situations where you make a mistake and you recover from it, you know? Make sense? Okay, let's talk about the music itself. Yeah, so you touched on a few things. You didn't play any dynamics at all.
I was thinking about how I could not mess up.
No, and that's not the right thing to do. What I would do if I'm playing this, I would sing the song while I play. That's, I think, the best way of staying fully concentrated and engaged in your music. Especially, this is so easy because it's a song. I'm not doing that out loud when I play, obviously. But in my head, I'm just singing this song while I play. And that really helps me to stay focused and engaged the whole time. I think that's your best bet. Don't think about trying to oh God, what if I make a mistake? Or like, don't play every note right, don't play a single wrong one. You're gonna like set yourself up. You have too much negative energy there, you know? And you're kind of closing your mind to the possibilities of your performance, you know? Now the other thing, besides the dynamics, there's a lot of places where we're missing connection. Yours would sound like. doesn't feel like it's connected, you know? So I would say you need to be more in the key and try not to pick your hand up that much. Now there, pick up. Pick up. So when you're at the ends of phrases or sentences, then yeah, go ahead, pick up your hand. But if you're in the middle of a thought, it's really important that you try to stay down in the key to make it feel like it's got more length to it. Another general comment is sometimes you're too slow in pushing the pedal back down. So what happens is you'll hear parts that are a little bit choppier sounding, and as a consequence with the sometimes no legato touch, plus not pushing it down fast enough, it makes it sound a little choppy in places, you know? Besides dynamics, and I think the singing will help with this, I want you to enjoy moments more. Like you have... That can be so beautiful if you're really expressive about it. You know, there's a lot of places that you can be really, you can do a lot with the sound to make it like have a lot of feeling to it, you know? I think once again, you were focused on notes, right? So try this again. Try it again from the beginning. Let's see if we can react to any of these things we just talked about. The pedaling's a little better, but try not to even let your foot off of it. Like, try to just put your foot on the pedal, but don't push it at all. So just like let it rest on it. That's the highest point that it's going to come to. So let the pedal up all the way, but your foot's still sort of touching. Okay. If you sense that I don't want you to like partially hold it down because that's going to make changing the pedal work. But try to make it so you actually have your foot nearby, because that's going to allow you to push it down again faster. If you lift your foot up an extra amount, then it makes it slower to change the pedal, right? Try it again. You're making it seem like there's a right or wrong answer to it.
Second time.
You enjoyed the second time more? Why did you enjoy the second time more?
Because there was more of a shape to the music, I feel like.
More shape, okay. What else?
You didn't do the eighth note pedal on the first time?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I messed that up. That wasn't intentional.
Okay. And then you slowed down at some parts.
It wasn't like metronomically exactly the same. There was flexibility in it, right? In other words, I played it more expressively. Right? And that's something that we need to try to achieve with this piece, because there is so much like emotional things happening in the music, and it's important to be kind of dramatic about it. And you already touched on the two major ways that I do this, which is with shape and dynamics and with timing. So there's certain places at the ends of the phrases that I slow down, or I do exaggerate the crescendo diminuendo that we already wrote out. But even if I went a little further, just listen. Things a little bit more than maybe I would on the stage, but what was really impactful about that?
Dynamics and tempo.
Can you be more specific though? We already know it's those two elements, parameters, but like in what specific examples did I do something that was effective in those two regards?
In section 4, when it was like that part, you got faster compared to like the end of the section 3.
I picked it up a little bit here. I don't know if you know, but I was playing that a little bit slower. So I was kind of doing that as a way of balancing it out slightly. Yeah? Okay.
And
by the way, do you know the name of that? If we're kind of pushing in some places and pulling in other places? There's a word for that. You ever play any Chopin? No.
I don't think so.
No? Oh, we gotta have
no, in orchestra.
In orchestra? No, yes. You gotta play. Chopin is a piano composer. All this non-piano music is good. It's not good. He wrote other music, but he was like piano only basically. That was his thing.
I think it was definitely.
It could have been an arrangement. Anyway, rubato is the word.
Expressively?
No. Rubato means to push and pull. So to kind of have some moments where it's really like, flowing, and have moments where it's kind of holding back. Okay? So that's one thing, rubato is what I was doing there. Okay, what was another specific example? I think there was one that I tried to make really striking. Maybe it wasn't that striking though.
In the this part again, when it was like same thing, but all the other parts near the ends of the phrases, you were slowing down.
Okay, sure. Sorry, I'm a little confused. What specifically?
You became a lot more quiet.
I tried to make that really different than what you heard before. And then when I tried to make this all feel like it was mostly piano, but it kind of opened in some areas. And the way I definitively tried to do that was by ensuring that we were getting to a much louder dynamic there, Play around with this. Play from the beginning again.
And I get to choose, obviously there's some spots where it makes more sense to do things, but I get, it's not something that can be written in.
Well, not exactly. Dynamics are written in. I think the beginnings and ends of phrases determine the rubato and the shape of it. What you get to choose is the degree in which you do things. Okay? Let's play from the beginning. We're going to play together as a team. You don't have a second copy, right? You just have the one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Let me see if I can play by memory. And let's see if we can be really expressive. You ready? Ready, go. Followed along pretty decent.
Yeah, I think I was following you and not just.
That's
I
fine.
wasn't doing my own.
No,
Also,
that's what you had to do that time.
I think it wasn't good for me having the music in front of me because I was like staring at the music and playing it.
Why is that bad?
Because now I'm like reading it instead of like doing it off of memory.
Well, I mean, in order to know what to do expressively, you have to look at the music. We're not pulling things out of thin air. You're using what you have in front of you. That's why I left it for you, because I wanted you to see, like, oh, like, you know, it says to do that here, so that's why I'm doing this thing, you know. So I wanted you to have a connection with that. We're not making it up on the spot. You know, it's all it's all unwritten things to do in the music, basically.
Is this at the same time? Is it like?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both on the up. And by the way, when you see an M with a circle around it, that means you had a memory problem. So that's the memory. Yeah, that's not correct.
Yeah, that's what
It's,
I played.
So yeah, one E and and one E and Okay. Yeah. Now you do it yourself. Make it not exactly how I did it, but make it similar. And for this time, I want you to do a lot more than you think you should. Okay? So if you think you should do like this much, try this much. I'll tell you if that's too much. But I don't want you to do not enough. wish you had. I was a little heartbroken. I was about to stop you to make you to do it, but yeah, that's supposed to be. Yeah, you basically played it the same as that, and then you actually played this a little softer.
Oh.
You know, timing wise, not bad. You had a good sense, like here, for example. It was pretty good. But yeah, it's almost as if you didn't know what the dynamics were when you were playing. Were you going through your head thinking about what dynamic you were at?
Yeah, I really thought I did piano there.
Really? Here, I'm gonna have you listen to it.